What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got some big news here in in pretty much every industry here for the United States and for the American people, as President Donald Trump may have found a way to get the Fed chairman Jerome Powell to either resign or to get him fired because of cause. I'm going to let you hear it directly here in this video, because of mismanagement of the Fed's funds. And this is, everybody is talking about this here today. I'm going to let you hear it directly here in this video. $700 million over budget on this $2.5 billion Fed building in Washington, D.C. And President Donald Trump is trying to do everything he can to get rid of Fed President Jerome Powell here, because what President Donald Trump says is that he is the only man standing in the way of higher interest rates for the American people and the government, which has about $1 trillion in debt. And higher interest rates means higher debt, higher interest payments on your credit cards, your mortgage rates, your car payments, your personal loans, pretty much every single thing that basically every American is paying on, and interest is just flying out the door going to these big banks. But on the other hand, if interest rates is lowered too quickly, and a lot of people are concerned that inflation could get out of control if interest is lowered too quickly too soon, which is a concern for a lot of people. So what will happen here? Well, take a look at what is happening here. Well, let's jump right in. We are live right now here on the YouTube It's Jimmy Show. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Type yes in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. You can let me know your city, state, or even your country, as we have people tuning in here from all around the globe. Don't forget to hit that like button for me here. And if you haven't yet, subscribe down below so you don't miss out on future videos and help me reach 500,000 subscribers. Take a look here at what's happening. Yeah, Jerome Powell responds under fire from President Donald Trump over his mismanagement of funds. Even Jerome Powell is now seeking a third-party watchdog to review the Fed building overhaul that is now over $2.5 billion in cost. Take a look here. Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has asked an inspector general to review the costs of the central bank's building renovations that White House officials have attacked as ostentatious. The spokesperson for the inspector general, an independent watchdog, confirmed the request and declined further comment. The Fed has been renovating two of its office buildings in Washington for several years at a current cost estimate of $2.5 billion just for a renovation. $700 million more than expected. And this project was first approved back in 2017. Trump administration officials have seized on the expense and some alleged amenities in the remodeling buildings to extend their criticism of Powell, who the president has attacked for not reducing the Fed's short-term interest rates. Some people have said that Federal Reserve Chairman is considering resigning over this mismanagement of funds, or that President Donald Trump may be able to fire him for cause because of this. Take a listen here.
Listen to what Trump's top economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, had to say about the Fed.
The bottom line is that this is the most expensive project in D.C. history. So the Fed has a lot to answer for. And the bottom line is that there's a key statutory problem. In 1913, when we founded the Fed, the U.S. was under a gold standard. So it was never envisioned by the people that voted for the construction of the Fed that we currently see, that the Fed could print money and toss it around willy-nilly because they had to have the gold to do what they're doing.
By the way, Hassett there is talking about cost overruns in the renovation of the Fed headquarters. Congressman Darrell Issa joins me now. The White House seems to be lining up Powell to be fired for cause over the spending on his headquarters. Would you like to see Powell gone as soon as possible?
Stuart, I'd like to see a Fed that realizes that its real mandate is to help promote a healthy, positive, working, prosperous country with hedges against inflation. Instead, what they seem to find is an arbitrary number that changes from time to time to meet some political need. So yes, I'd like to see the Fed either do its job and realize that it's time to lower rates and continue the growth that's being earned here in Washington and around the country, rather than continue to move the ball. Remember, Stuart, they were saying that, oh, we could go somewhere well above 2 and below 3 until we achieved it. Now they've moved it down to, oh no, it's stubbornly just above 2.
You'd fire him if you could? Because that would take away his independence.
I would ask him to stand up and say, how is it you couldn't even get on time and on budget on a project you had all the time in the world to prepare? And if you can't, isn't it really time that you move on to somebody that isn't both indecisive and unable to manage something as simple as delivering a new location on time and on budget, which he hasn't done?
Congressman, what's the plan now that the big, beautiful bill has passed? I want you to listen to what Speaker Johnson had to say about that. Roll tape.
We're implementing a playbook that we designed well over a year ago. The big, beautiful bill was the first big step in that, but we have multiple steps ahead of us. We have long planned for at least 2, possibly 3 reconciliation bills, one in the fall and one next spring, that would continue to allow us to do this on a partisan basis where we only need Republican votes and we don't have to drag Democrats along. All these things will be done while we're codifying more of President Trump's executive orders.
Yeah, so you can see Speaker Mike Johnson there talking that there's going to be 2 more reconciliation bills, aka 2 more big, beautiful bills coming. We just covered that here in some recent videos of mine. The big, beautiful bill, some people love it, some people hate it, but there's a lot of things in that bill. The White House says up to $13,000 in there for families. Things like the largest tax cut in history, what they're saying, as well as $2,200 there for the child tax credits. We got the $6,000 senior boost. We got the $1,000 Trump savings accounts. We got the SALT tax reduction. There's a lot of different things in there. I actually just did a recent video that I'll link you to here with all of those things in there. And now President Donald Trump wants to get lower interest rates, which would be good for almost every single American and the government, which is paying interest on like $1 trillion in a year in just interest, okay? So that's a lot of money, and think about everybody with credit card interest rates, mortgage interest rates, or a lot of, think about how high mortgages have gone. We went from literally 2 to 3% mortgages here a few years ago to now we went as high as 8% mortgages. So that basically doubled some people's mortgages. Think about that. So interest rates matter a lot when they're adding thousands of dollars onto your mortgages. It's insane. And over the course of a year, tens of thousands of dollars to your mortgages. Over the course of years, hundreds of thousands of dollars onto your total mortgage. That's a lot. And basically the same principle for credit cards. It's the exact same principle. You go to the grocery store and you put $200 of your groceries onto the credit cards. That $200 eventually, because you pay the minimum, that $200 eventually costs you $400. And you're basically paying twice the amount for your food, especially because interest rates are so high. And to be honest, when interest rates come down, it's going to be relief for a lot of Americans. And this is why a lot of Americans are hoping for interest rates to come down, because it lowers the prices on everything. Credit cards, cars, homes, personal loans, everything. It creates a little bit of breathing room, and a lot of people really need it right now. However, listen to what the Fed Cleveland president here just said. Take a listen.
President Trump once again pushing Fed Chair Jay Powell to lower rates now. The bond market reacting as investors weigh the chances of a rate cut potentially this month, as well as the president's latest tariff rollout. Fox Business's Edward Lawrence here with an exclusive interview with Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack. Edward.
Yeah, hello from Cleveland, Cheryl. Yeah, I'm with Beth Hammack, president of the Cleveland Federal Reserve. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, second of all, I want to get into this. The Federal Reserve has been waiting for inflation for about 6 months now. It hasn't shown its head. So, how long should the Fed wait for inflation before there should be a move?
Well, first of all, thanks for making the trip out to Cleveland. I know it wasn't the easiest trip to get here. When I step back and think about where the economy is overall, I see an economy that's really healthy. You've got a labor market that's been at 4 to 4.2%, stable, healthy, right around that maximum employment side of our mandate. And you've got inflation, which has made progress from above 7%, right in the height of the pandemic, to below 3%. But we've still been hanging out in that same range below 3% for some period of time. And so I think it's important that we wait and see how all of the new policies that have been put forward are going to impact inflation.
So you're in the wait and see mode. Then maybe a rate cut would not be your preference this next meeting?
I walk into every meeting with an open mind, waiting to see where the data is going to take us, where the conversation takes us, and what to do. But from where I sit and what I see is that we're hitting on our employment side of the mandate. We're not there yet on the inflation side of the mandate. And so I think it's important for us to maintain a restrictive posture of monetary policy to make sure that we're getting inflation down to our target of 2%.
I'll ask you about labor in a second. In the Fed minutes, it said that a couple participants show that a rate cut could come as early as this month. Some participants saw no rate reductions this year. Is there a divide growing within the Fed about cut or not to cut?
There's a great conversation. I think what is hard to appreciate not being in the room is that there really is a robust back and forth amongst the participants about the many different perspectives. What's really critical for each of us, particularly the bank presidents, myself, when I walk into that conversation, is to try to bring the viewpoints of the people in my district and to try to make sure that that's really coming through. And when I talk to people out in the district, when I'm sitting with businesses, what I hear from them is that they've got great labor force. They worked really hard to pull it together. They're worried about what's going to be happening, how the economy is going to unfold over the next 6, 12, 18 months. And they're still really struggling with inflation, and they're worried about prices going higher.
Do you see the plans on hold then? Do you see them canceling plans? What are your contacts saying about that?
So my contacts are saying a number of things. We definitely have heard about some plans being canceled. More, I'd say, have been paused, put on hold, and others have been just scaled down. So we were talking with a car dealership who was looking at kind of doing renovations of some of their stores, and they tried to scale back what those were. They were thinking about opening new stores in places, and they're looking at scaling those back.
So you think maybe second half of the year, a boom. What effect do you think tariffs are having then, or if any?
I think the uncertainty has certainly been weighing on investment, and it's been slowing, I think, the ability for businesses to move forward and make those bigger commitments. It could be that there's a boom that happens in the second part of the year, but we don't know that. So we'll have to step back and wait and see where the economy unfolds from that perspective.
So that right there is the Cleveland Fed president. If you've been watching my show, you know that it's not just Jerome Powell that makes this decision on interest rates. It's not just one person, like basically President Trump, who makes the decision on tariffs, which is raising prices for a lot of goods. A lot of companies have announced that they had to raise prices when there's a 50% tariff, 55% tariff coming from China. They have to raise prices. It's just what's happening. Jerome Powell does not make the decision on interest rates. These Fed presidents, they all get together, they have a meeting, and then they basically vote on what to do with interest rates, to raise interest rates, lower interest rates, or keep interest rates the same. But as you can see from the Fed minutes, basically their notes, they have a little bit of dissension among the ranks. But I have a feeling, just a feeling here, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments, that if they had a new Fed president, that they would probably be lowering interest rates pretty quickly. If the new Fed president appointed by Trump, because the president gets to appoint the new Fed president, that if he was like, hey, we got to lower interest rates now, we got to lower interest rates now, we got to lower interest rates now, if that's just, he was pounding on that hard, they would probably be like, okay, let's lower interest rates and let's start on that path and then let's see what's happened. I just have a feeling because if he was just harping on that, and some people are already starting to lean that way a little bit, unless tariffs explode inflation, which we're going to see what happens with that. we will see. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will keep you up to date. So make sure to subscribe down below so you get updates and breaking news. It's completely free to do so. Click the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live, and make sure to share this video with anybody that needs to hear this information. Click here to see more details on the big, beautiful bill. The White House says up to $10,000 plus per family. Or click here to see what's coming on July 15th for millions of Americans. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.